All right. So this was a long time coming. Welcome to our first podcast, Bryan.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time,
How
haven't we?
long?
Gosh, it's been at least, we've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years. And
Hmm.
we even posted about it on Facebook a
Like
couple of
2
years
years
ago.
ago? Yeah. It's finally here.
It's happening.
So those who follow us on social have probably seen updates of us building this podcast studio. And it is completed. And here we are in our first Talent Brand podcast.
Love it.
I'm excited. Are you?
I'm so excited. It might be the coffee, but it's Sunday. We're doing these on Sundays
Yep.
because Sundays are a great day to reflect and pull together, think about the week ahead, and really get some learning on. And the cool thing about Talent Brand Alliance is that we're also learning. There are no experts. We're going to talk to some people who might call themselves experts, but there are no real experts in our eyes in the employer branding and recruitment marketing space. We're all learners.
Yeah, I'm really excited what we can do with this podcast as an extension of the Talent Brand Alliance community. As most people know, we have the community on Facebook. We also have our in-person summits that we have here in Austin in the US. And then we have the one coming up in London next October. So we're going across the pond to London.
Jolly old Talent Brand Summit.
That's right. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. We actually recently went and scouted that last month. It hasn't even been a month yet.
It's
just a little over a month.
But yeah.
But that was such a fun trip. We got to bring the wives, just taste food, check out awesome venues.
See a show.
We did see a show. That was fun. It was great. It was much needed because, this past year, Bryan and I have had 2 jobs, really, right? Like
at least.
I've got my firm, Proactive Talent. You've been, for the last 3 years, building an amazing employer brand program and team at Indeed. And at the same time, we've been building this Talent Brand Alliance community, which is, wow, now, are we at 500 people now?
We just passed 500.
That's amazing. That's 500. I didn't, when we started talking about doing this, I didn't think that there were even 500 people out there specifically focused on employer branding and talent branding. And apparently there are. Apparently there's thousands. And so we have some ways to go to get everyone in here. But I'm just really excited of what's kicked off. The summit that we had in June was amazing. The feedback that we got, I think our average attendee rating was like 4.96.
4.96 or 4.98, whatever. I forget what it was, but it was pretty damn close to 5.
And it was about that same 5-star rating across for all of our facilitators, for the food. So we are just glowing with pride that this event turned out so well. And I'm so excited about the one coming up here in March. But we thought maybe we'd first take you guys back on a little bit of a history. Like one, in this first, podcast, let's talk a little bit about how did Talent Brand Alliance come to be? Like, why did we start that? Kick it off for me, Bryan.
Well, I remember it was December of 2012, actually, when we first started talking about it.
That's right.
And you were over at my house, and we were sitting in my office, and we were just like, hey, how do you learn about this stuff? Where do you find this information? How are you getting all these things done?
Yeah, because we just had our own little network of people that were starting to do this, right? And I think it was in 2013, Glassdoor did the first Talent Warrior Awards, which was for these social recruiters, these people using digital marketing to attract talent. And I was one of the first people to get that award with about a dozen other people. And I had created this Facebook group for us all to kind of share. And then it just sort of organically grew after that.
Morphed along with all the bobbleheads into bobbleheads, by the way, was what the Talent Warriors won when they were.
That was our trophy.
Yeah, trophy.
It's still in my office.
Bobblehead. So along with that, everything kind of morphed and grew into the Talent Brand Alliance, which I love. So that's what we're always doing. We're always evolving.
And I know, and every time you try to build something like this, you're like, man, we should have started this so much longer ago. We talked about it. We talked about it. But I think we're at a stage now where employer branding is really it's coming to its own. It's really becoming a practice. There's really people who are building their entire careers around it. There's people that reach out to me that were maybe they were coordinators or they were recruiters, and then they found like this is the path within TA and HR and the path within marketing that I want to go in. And so I think what's just happened is we finally hit that fever pitch of people and interest, and it's becoming so important in today's, recruiting strategies to focus on this. And so it's finally here. We've done it. We have this amazing engaged community, both online and offline. And this podcast is another extension of that. It's an ability for us to take, beyond what we do at these events, beyond what we do in the community, and talk to some people. And we're going to start that off by actually talking to our own board. So Talent Brand Alliance, go ahead, Bryan, you want to talk about it?
So the board, why do we need a board? Why do we need people who are going to be contributing this? Because, we did it on our own for like 5 years, right?
Or not. Like we did for 1 year, and then we're like, oh man, this is a lot of work. We're going to need some help.
This is a really real thing. So we needed some help, and we thought about it, we talked about it, and we realized that we needed to pull a board together, people who were passionate, people who were interested in pushing the community and the profession forward. And so Will and I were the first, we're the co-chairs of the board, but then we opened it up at the first event. We said, hey, we need some help. We need some leaders who wants to join us on this journey. Yeah. And we got so many people who were interested in taking part. We're so lucky.
Oh, it was so tough.
A passionate group of people. You have no idea.
It was so tough to choose. I mean, because we've lucked out that we're both pretty social. We're very well connected with people in the space. We had a sold out attendee, list at the last Talent Brand Summit. And I think everyone had such a great time and learned so much that so many people raised their hand. And I think we're not going to have any problem filling up the committees and things like that. But our board members are amazing. And it's starting with some people you may recognize, Dina Medeiros, who heads up employer branding at Blizzard Entertainment.
Yep, she's amazing. So what's fun fact about Dina is you and I talked about it. And I was like, how do we build out the format? What does this look like?
For the summit?
For the summit.
Yeah.
And so Dina and I got on a call on a random Saturday, and I said, hey, do you have 30 minutes? And 3 hours later.
Well, she actually got me my very first speaking gig at a conference.
Really?
Like my first major conference speaking experience was Dina when she was at LinkedIn. And we had been working together when I was building the employer brand at VMware, invited me and got me a session at LinkedIn Talent Connect in 2010 or 2011, I think. And the rest is history from there. And so no better person to ask about like, hey, we're thinking about doing this new format in the space. Like she's been to all of them. She's built the biggest, one in the industry. So amazing. She's actually partnering with us on partnerships and alliances, right? So she's going to help oversee all our partnerships and alliance discussions, research and vetting with the board, right? Like,
she's so well connected.
God, she's so well connected, and she knows a lot of vendors in the space. Like, what vendors does it make sense to be a part of this unique event, right? Where you're not selling, where you're not selling and stuff like that. And so, really excited to have her. Next up, who do we have?
We've got Noel Holdsworth from T-Mobile. So Noel also went to the summit, and she is so excited because she's. I would say she's a little firecracker, but she's a big firecracker. She's got a lot of spirit and heart. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is the knowledge base. So as we learn, as we grow as professionals within the talent branding space, it's important to capture all this knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that she's going to be tasked with is focusing on the knowledge base of talent branding and recruitment marketing and how we share it. What platform do we use?
Right, because we're getting all these people together, right? Like, what other way can you get all the people that are actually doing this work together at these summits? We're collecting information there, day in and day out, on a daily basis. We're sharing in the community, and we're getting all this knowledge. But how can we formalize that? How can we build sort of a central repository for this? Training, case studies, reference materials, white papers. How can we get this out there to advance the profession as a whole?
And make it indexed and searchable.
Yes, absolutely. And so she's doing that. That's very, very important. It's the core of what we're doing, right? Is the education and evangelizing employer branding. Next, who do we have?
We got Derrick Johnson, who
Yeah.
leads our event production committee. And Derrick was so excited about the event, and I loved
He had such passion about our format.
I loved his passion about it and the ability to just come and be yourself. It really, really welcoming, open, inclusive environment. Loved his passion and really loved to see. Really looking forward to seeing what he brings to the event, because the first event was us.
Well, it was, but it was what we aspired it to be, but it was attendees like Derrick that really built the culture, and him specifically, and the way he talks about it and is able to articulate it. I think he's even, one of the main people featured in our teaser for the event, for the video, right? And you can just tell that he got exactly what we wanted out of the event, and he's someone who's going to protect it and make sure that it stays that way, right? That it doesn't get too big, that we really keep it true to what we built it on. So awesome to have him. So we're going to be talking to him in a few episodes. We also have James Ellis. He's the former head of employer branding at Groupon. Yes, thank you. At Groupon, he's now a lead consultant at my firm, Proactive Talent, just killing it for our clients and building some awesome employer brand strategies. So he's going to be overseeing community growth and engagement. And what's great, the way I really see this board member role is they're kind of the everyday facilitator, right? Like
bread and butter.
Yeah, he's the one that is getting people engaged on the online community. He's the host of our monthly member meetings, and just really overseeing the engagement of our community members, the membership content calendar, and just driving member value.
Yeah, making it a good community environment.
Yeah, because community is only as good as how much you nourish it and water it. It's like, it's like that plant on your desk. You have to water it every little bit, or it dies.
It see some light too every once in a while. So speaking of seeing the light, we talked about it and really enjoyed Zakia's Nasheed's contribution to the event. She is an employer brand manager at Unilever, and huge company, but one that could actually really reinforce the need for employer and talent branding, because some people know Unilever, but some people don't. And so it's understanding how impactful that can be when your brand is more product focused than corporate focused.
Also, she's part of a team of 80 people, an employer brand of 80 people. It must be, I'm willing to put it on the table, that must be the largest employer brand team in the world.
Easily the largest. 80.
So she knows what it looks like to scale it to its umpteenth degree, right? And so having her as the board member over the membership committee, our membership and growth, just makes so much sense, because she knows what it's like to recruit a lot of employer brand people, and it's really a board seat that's helping oversee our membership recruiting initiatives. How do we make more people aware of Talent Brand Alliance? Market research on industry needs. She helps vet opportunities for the community, and just the financial growth of our whole.
How do we
thing.
Add value, right?
Yeah.
For the members of the community. I think that's really, really cool.
It's awesome.
And who else? Good friend, another good friend of ours.
Holland
McHugh. So Holland has a big role in marketing and communications for the board.
Let's tell a little bit about her resume. I mean, her past experience of doing this type of thing is really transferable to this board seat.
Absolutely. And so she's, I think, previous editor of Fistful of Talent.
Yeah.
She's had multiple roles. She's been to Cox Media. She's been a couple different places. Now she leads employer brand for Delta Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
And so
she's doing great work over there.
Pulling all those pieces together, really understanding how not only to think about an editorial calendar, but what communication means, what are the tenets, and then how to find that rhythm of
Yeah.
communication, right?
She also started our very first local chapter in Atlanta, and they had their first event. Was that earlier this month or late last month?
It was late last
Yeah.
month, and in Atlanta, and it went really, really well.
It was
There's
awesome.
actually there's a video, there's a blog post and video on the
website. Check it out.
talentbrand.org blog.
Yeah, and that's talentbrand.org/blog to find that. That's awesome. And so she's going to be overseeing our messaging, PR, internal and external communications to better, sort of inform, coordinate, and promote member activity and Talent Brand Alliance initiatives. So
Yep.
Awesome to have her. And then obviously, last but not least, we've got our board member, Audra Knight. She is someone that I've always seen who is just an open sharer. She likes to mentor, help other people learn and get into employer branding. And so no better board seat than the one that we created, which is mentorship and L&D. So tell us about that board seat, Bryan.
So that board seat is super important because as people who don't have go-to rule books, there's not one playbook that says this is how you do it. And so when you're in that environment, the important piece is to be able to learn from others. Yeah. And so being able to seek out people who've been where you're going, people who are willing to share, willing to provide that guidance is super important. And an element of that at the last summit was how do we match make all the different people who are sitting at these round tables?
How do we pair up people who have maybe some more experience and are open to mentor with folks who maybe are 1-2 years in that are still figuring things out, and then even those people who are considered that have a lot of experience, how do we match them with other people who also have different experience in other industries in ways that they can more well-round their knowledge. So it's just it's a great seat. It's awesome to have them, and we look forward to interviewing each one of them so you can learn a little bit more about them, about their committees, because I know some of them are still very much looking for committee members and committee leads. They're recruiting.
They need some help too.
Yeah. So if you are in employer branding and talent branding, if Talent Brand Alliance, either whether you're a member yet or not, if it's something that's of interest to you, please go on the website, check it out, join the group, and reach out to one of these board members and say, hey, I want to be on your committee. Well, awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about why did we? I know we talked a little bit of why we created Talent Brand Alliance, and then the summit was sort of this extension of that. But why should talent brand practitioners or folks throughout talent acquisition and HR be listening to this podcast?
So I think the group does something really, really well in that we vet and we review everybody who wants to be a member. We look at, hey, who's doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. Who's involved, who's leading TA or recruiting and charged with building and or elevating an employer brand. And then the flip side of that is who all is interested in moving towards employer and talent branding. Because I think that's one of the things that people are I think back about a blog post that Ashley Bush wrote on our blog and about how she was kind of moving through recruiting and was thinking about things in a different way. And she said, once I was reading and hopping around and I found out about recruitment marketing and employer branding, and she was just like, wow, I found my people.
That's how I felt too. I mean, like I sort of fell in it as well. And it just something snaps and you're like, oh, all these things that I am good at are coming together in this profession, in this, sort of track for my career. And so I think we found a lot of people have a similar story there. And so I'm excited that through this podcast and this media platform that we have, to be able to shine that light on those people and their stories. And we're all figuring this out.
Oh yeah.
Employer branding is not very old of an industry. Recruiting as a professional sport has only been around maybe 25 years. Right. And I love what ATAP is doing to help create standards around that. I love what Lars is doing with
HROS.
HR open source with Ambrosia, and how they're building sort of this knowledge base and collateral of overall HR stuff. And I think we're in a really good lane to really take a look at employer branding and talent branding and how all these things fit together. and love our partnerships with ATAP and HROS as we continue doing this. So what's in store for the future of this podcast? We don't know, but we're starting with the Q&As with our board.
Yep.
Then we're going to talk to leaders within the employer brand field, other practitioners, some members. You may get some coverage from our events in here, maybe some whenever we have output from our member meetings.
Yep, absolutely. So member meeting reviews, overviews, as we're talking through the podcast, we're going to talk about some of the things because everybody's facing all these challenges.
Yeah, and I think for some people too, there's a lot of people out there that maybe they're curious about employer branding. They don't know if it's an industry that they want to go into yet, or maybe they're in recruiting and they want to learn more about it. Obviously, you have to be in an employer branding role to be within our community, but you don't have to read our blog. You don't have to be in an employer brand role to listen to this podcast and learn from these people that are doing it, from the white papers and knowledge-based stuff that we're going to be coming out of this community. So this podcast is another way for us to help advance the industry, help others learn and attract them into employer branding and learn more about it.
Yeah, what we want is we want to grow more community members who can contribute and learn and help drive it forward. And I think that's the key is we want to help people learn. We want to put people where they can learn from others. And then we want to share that information out to the general TA and recruiting and branding population so they can figure out, hey, is talent branding the right path for me?
Yeah. And if it is, and they get into that career and we want them to come in and actually help contribute to the community, right? And learn from other people to advance their career at a faster pace. And then take those online relationships and come to the summit and meet people in real life and have some real hands-on learning. And the idea of these summits is you leave with a tangible framework, a tangible strategy. We look at all the different pillars of building a program at this event that you can go back and re-energized around what you're doing and just really kick ass in your job when you get back to the office, right?
Oh, that's the thing, right? Everybody, like, that is going to mean something different to everybody else.
Yeah.
And you can find your own level. You can find your people, connect with them. And I feel like the learning part, understanding that we're all here to learn, there are no experts, and there really is a desire to seek to understand.
Yeah, I know. Everyone here in our community, they're pioneers. They're helping decide what the future of recruiting people is going to be about, and how we're going to together collectively decide what are the best practices around doing this, what works, what doesn't work anymore, and evolve with it as the technology, as the practices in the space evolve every day. Because in this day of business, it moves quick.
It does.
Things move really fast.
So speaking of technology, I think it's important to also note that we are going to have some technology providers, most likely evangelists and people who've been in practitioner roles.
The ecosystem is important.
Yeah. So it's understanding who's out there, what are they building, how can it help us do our job better?
That's true. Yeah. So part of the summit is we do have sponsors. They sponsor parts of the summit, the fun activities and things like that. And it's really gearing around the relationship between the practitioners who do the work and the vendors that are driving and building tools to make our lives easier, right? Allow us to measure things better, allow us to create content easier and in more dynamic ways, right? And so we're going to have some of them on the podcast as well to talk about, well, one, get people excited about the activities that they're going to be doing at these summit events, but also just to talk about what their viewpoint on this industry is. I mean, they're investing in building products and technologies for this space, for us, right? And so getting and learning about why they chose that and what their products do is going to help us all learn as these emerging technologies come about.
Absolutely. And what drives that product development, right? So how are they getting in the mind of the talent brander?
Yeah, this allows them to engage with our community too. And we, as a community, can make those products better. I mean, there's no better way. I just think having the practitioners and the ecosystem together, but not in a way where they're selling to us, but they're really engaging with us. to understand the industry so that they build better products is the way to go.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we'll hear about over and over again, and that'll be our drinking game phrase, is the word storytelling.
Yes.
So I think the storytelling aspect is going to be really important. So we're all storytellers in what we do.
Don't just pitch me your product. Tell me how someone employer branding or a recruiting team at your client company actually achieve something with it. How did they attract more people? How did they increase their brand awareness? Were they able to launch a new employee referral initiative? Like, I want to know those stories.
And what didn't work?
Yes.
What were you trying to do?
What did you build in your product? And then you realize later on, oh no, that does not translate to recruiting.
Backfire.
Right. They all have those stories, and I look forward to learning about them. But guys, that's it for our very first episode. We did it. We finally started a podcast.
We did it.
Awesome. We look forward to going on this journey with all of you. And we'll see you next Sunday.
All right. Have a great rest of your weekend.
All right.